Welcome back to Wake Up America. I'm Tom Basili. The United States government says there were more than 1.7 million apprehensions of illegal immigrants along the southern border during the last 12 months. As a newly formed caravan head towards the U.S., they're calling the mother of all caravans. Let's bring in Newsmax border correspondent and retired captain from the Texas Department of Public Safety, Jason Jones. Jason, always good to see you. It just seems to keep on coming. 1.7 million apprehensions is an astonishing number. And there's an organized migrant caravan is now on its way from southern Mexico toward the U.S. It has repeatedly surged past apparently a blockade of Mexican forces attempting to stop it from getting to the U.S.-Mexico border. What is the latest you're hearing on this?
Yeah, absolutely. It's good morning to you, Tom. It's good to be with you. So we talked about this on Saturday morning, that the place to watch was Tapachula, where the caravan had been gathering, and that we believed that they would make it through there. Sure enough, they did, but the numbers were dramatically reduced. Now, that's not really getting out. I think the numbers now, based on people that I've been talking to on the ground throughout the weekend, are between 3,000 and 6,000. So what's next for us in the next 48 hours? They're going to hit Mexico City. As they do, those groups are going to break up as they want to disperse across the southwest border of the United States. And from there, that's where the U.S. intelligence agencies, federal, state, and local law enforcement will really be focused on what the numbers are going to be, and we'll be able to provide that to you, because this is the point now where U.S. law enforcement can really determine what the numbers are. Right now, I have to tell you, there's a lot of speculation out there. But once they hit Mexico City and they start riding the different trains like La Bestia up to our border, that's where the numbers will really be able to be known. But I think here's where the frustration is. Mm-hmm. Where is the DHS secretary? Here we are once again, right? Another caravan about to impact our border, and yet we hear nothing from the leadership. And that's the rub here, because, you know, what are they doing to mitigate it? What are they doing to monitor it? We have no idea. And I think for most Americans, that's where the frustration is about what's happening right now.
Jason, you sent us some exclusive video. You always give us some really terrific stuff. Tell us what we're looking at here.
You bet. So what you're seeing is a Texas Department of Public Safety DPS helicopter in El Paso, Texas. What happened was on Friday night, they were conducting routine interdiction flight when they overheard on the radio a woman who had just been robbed at knife point and her vehicle stolen. They turned the camera, saw the vehicle fleeing at a high rate of speed, notified El Paso Police Department, tried to initiate a traffic stop. Suspect fled, and a pursuit ensued. After that, subject wrecked the vehicle, and then from there tried to, on foot, to carjack another vehicle before being taken into custody by local law enforcement. Tom, here's the thing. The guy was an illegal alien, shouldn't have been in the country. But it's a prime example of the types of crimes occurring in the state and what is impacting the American people. And the reason I think it's important to show it is because that's part of what's not shown to the country, right? We talk about migrants all the time. We don't talk about the impacts to America. So we're trying to show that.
Yeah, well, of course, you know, when President Trump used to talk about crime and crime associated with certain illegal immigrants, it was called a racist. But the fact of the matter is, it does impact these communities, and it is happening. And speaking of impact on the communities, the administration has been flying plane loads of illegals secretly into a suburban New York airport, made a lot of news last week. This is a part of a bigger process to quietly resettle folks all across America. Are we starting to get a sense now of where these folks are going as these reports are coming out?
I wish I could tell you that we were, but unfortunately, the way they're doing this under the cover of darkness in the middle of the night, moving these people, and I think that's part of why they're doing it the way they're doing, because from there, how do you track it, right? And so the real truth here is that's going to be one of the biggest stories in this country, but it's going to take a lot of effort based on the way the U.S. government is sending these unaccompanied minors from the border to a military base, then flying them out all over the country in the middle of the night. It's going to take some investigative reporting, but eventually it's going to come out. It's going to be a big story.
Yesterday, former President Donald Trump put out a statement saying, quote, "Our country is dying from within and nobody is doing anything to stop it. The first thing that should be done, and it can be done quickly, is finish the wall." When you, Jason, talk to law enforcement and National Guard on the ground, do you get the sense that they believe that that should be the priority?
Oh, absolutely. It's not a perception. It's not a feeling. The men and women of law enforcement who work the border, they all know that the border wall works. The data shows that. And if you go back even way before President Trump, the United States Customs and Border Protection for decades had been putting up border walls from El Paso to South Texas, trying to build infrastructure, because what that border wall was doing was forcing people into areas where law enforcement wanted them to go, where they had resources. The border wall is very, very effective against stopping large groups of people crossing, because especially when you're in South Texas, as a great example, when you cross that river, you can be in a stash house in a matter of minutes. So from the time of detection to the time of interdiction is sometimes in minutes, if not seconds, because stash houses are so close to the border.
Right.
So the border wall is very, very effective.
And I know that Texas is taking matters into its own hands. It's starting to get some help from other states between the National Guard and Texas law enforcement. But just real quickly, Jason, do they have enough personnel, and do we have any sense of what it would take for them to actually do what the federal government doesn't seem committed to doing?
Well, I think it's a great question. So Texas has introduced Operation Lone Star. It's a $1.8 billion Texas-funded operation. They've sent over 1,000 Texas troopers down there who we were embedded with for the last few weeks, trying to illuminate what's happening down there. And right now, just so everyone's aware, they're activating 500 National Guard troops every single week for the next 6 weeks. So you're going to have about 3,000 of more National Guards sent to the border.
Wow.
On top of that, they're also being trained in the ability to make arrests, to detain, and to escort these migrants. Now, that's a major shift we've not seen historically, because usually they're just sitting there watching. So that's what's happening in Texas right now.
Well, Jason, we're going to continue to follow this, obviously, here on Newsmax, and we always appreciate your insight. Jason Jones, thank you so much.